The Dating Show.
You're listening to The Dating Show, and we're today talking about vegetarian dating. And this is brought to you by one-to-one-vegetarian-dating.com. So again, I'm joined by Liz. So Liz, you are a vegetarian. Now, can I just start by asking you, how did you become a vegetarian and why did you become a vegetarian?
Okay, I became a vegetarian at the prompting of my youngest daughter, who had committed her lifestyle to vegetarianism, and she encouraged me to watch the movie Cowspiracy, and I also read the book of the same name. And I was a bit skeptical, but I watched it anyway, and it completely changed my entire attitude to eating meat and animals, both from a health aspect and also from a moral aspect, because I don't think that we treat animals with respect, and basically we farm them in horrific conditions that they require antibiotics to keep them healthy, so that we can then cart them off to slaughter, a brutal slaughter, and so that we can eat them. And I just feel that if I'm eating flesh that has actually been kept healthy by antibiotics, that's not a healthy diet to be partaking in. And it also, I believe, leads to the overuse of antibiotics, because ultimately we are ingesting those antibiotics and those growth hormones, which leads to the onset that we have such early puberty in our children. So when you look at things that way, and also from the point of view that those animals are living in terrible conditions, they're not happy, they are depressed, and in pain a lot of the time, and those emotions are also in that animal, and I don't want those emotions in my body when I'm eating animal products.
And when you go shopping, because I know sort of if you go back sort of 15, 20 years ago, I sort of did dabble a bit with being a vegetarian because my ex-wife was vegetarian, and there was, I would say, a bit of a shortage, a bit of a lack of choice as a non-meat eater. That can't be the case now. Do you find it quite easy to sort of find and create good meals just by using, vegetables, basically?
Yes, that I find it very easy to actually make vegetarian meals, and there's certainly a broad range of plant-based products that are available. I mean, if you want sausages, there are plant-based sausages. If you want a pie, there are plant-based pies. The market has exploded with plant-based options, and I just feel that there's no excuse for the way that we actually treat animals, and the way that we feel that animal products should be the main basis of our meals, because it's totally unnecessary.
And obviously we're talking because of the dating show. We're talking about dating, and there are these dedicated sites, one of which is one-to-one-vegetarian-dating.com. Now, they are important because I would say, because obviously you're putting the same sort of people in the same group to start with, so it should make it easier to move forward and have some mutual interests.
I definitely think that vegetarians dating sites are vital for people who are following a vegetarian lifestyle, because if I look at the way that I feel when I see meat being cut on a plate, or when I smell meat cooking, it's totally abhorrent to me now. I mean, I mean, coming from where I come from, we used to always have meat-based barbecues, and that was our way of life. That was just the way that everybody lived. But now, if I smell meat cooking, it makes me feel physically sick, because it's just the smell is just totally revolting to me now. So
Would
yes, dating somebody, I would need to actually know that they were a vegetarian.
so I suppose the question is, you know, would you date somebody who's not a vegetarian? And you know, if you would it put you off somebody if they were going to sit there and have, you know, a burger and chips in front of you?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I mean, if I'm sitting enjoying my plant-based meal, and somebody actually comes along and starts cutting into a bloody steak or cutting into a hamburger, and that smell actually reaches me, it puts me off my food. I don't want to actually be near somebody who's eating meat.
Do you think that sort of restricts your pool of possible partners, though? Do you ever sort of think about it like that? That, you know, you are narrowing down, you know, your possibilities of, you know, finding somebody.
Well, I think if you actually look at it from a point of view that if everybody actually wants to date somebody who has common ideals and like-minded interests as yourself. So for instance, it's no more restrictive than I wouldn't actually date somebody who goes on a high-speed motorbike, because that would absolutely terrify me. So, you know, there are restrictions in place anyway when you're dating. You know, I would set normal boundaries when I'm dating, and if those people are not like-minded and don't have similar interests to me, then I wouldn't consider dating them anyway. So I think dating basically, depending on what you're actually looking for, is restrictive anyway. So because you're looking for somebody who has a common interest to you and a common lifestyle.
Can I just ask you as well, Liz, because you know, recognized sites like one-to-one-vegetarian-dating.com, they have measures in place which look after their members. But can I just ask you, as a woman, because security is very, very important when obviously you're meeting and talking to new people. What measures do you sort of personally put in place? Like I say, the dating companies do that. The respectable ones do that. But what measures would you put in place, and what advice could you give people meet in public for the first time, things like that? Would that be your?
Well, I prefer to actually communicate online for a short while, to just make sure that that you have common interests, and that you are meeting somebody, or possibly meeting or communicating with somebody who has got common interests to yourself. And then if we agree to meet, then I would meet in public for a short date. Say, for instance, a drink somewhere, or a cup of coffee somewhere in a public place. But I would set a time limit on it, so that I would actually say, yes, I'll meet you, but I don't have a lot of time at the moment. I can meet you for a quick drink. And it would always be me that would choose the venue, and I would go to the venue in my own transport. So I wouldn't be relying on my future date to actually provide transport or any form of. I would be independent, put it that way. And also from the point of view that there's a lot of articles in the press nowadays where people are asked to send money. I would never consider ever doing something like that. And as far as I'm concerned, that person is always a stranger until I've got to know them properly. And that includes several meetings, you know, where you're building up a trust and a friendship with that person.
Well, I think that that's excellent advice to give people. I'm also quite interested to ask you, you know, do you think men and women look at it differently when they go on the dating sites? You know, the way they sort of manage and process, you know, going through all the people. Do you think that's the case? I mean, how do you sort of do it, to be honest with you? Because a lot of people don't put a photograph on there as an example. And, you know, whenever I've done it before, if you can't see the person, then I just go, no, I'm not doing that. What sort of criteria do you use when you do
Well,
online dating?
I put a restriction on it, on the actual site, that I don't view people without a photograph. So that's one of the criteria that I would put on a site. So I don't get contacted by people unless they have a photograph, because I wouldn't contact anybody without a photograph. And I also set an age limit. So there is an age limit that's appropriate to what I'm looking for, and that can be set on the site as well. So there are these safeguards that are built into the site, and that would be part of my criteria. But no, I wouldn't contact anybody or even reply to any messages unless they had a photograph on. In fact, I would say that you need more than one photograph. You need a couple of photographs, and you also have to have recent photographs. And you can tell when that's not a recent photograph because it looks old-fashioned, and with modern technology, you can tell that that is not a recent photograph. So
Yeah.
there's all those things that actually you need to look out for. And those are important aspects on any dating site. And it's part of your own security. And not divulging in too much personal information either. So for instance, I don't give out my telephone number until I have communicated with that person online for a while. And I certainly wouldn't have any personal photographs or any inappropriate photographs, put it that way, and also photographs that would divulge where I lived.
Do you think, I mean, when I've done it before, I have almost treated it like a job, almost like a business. You know, try to be professional and be polite to people, and sort of, you know, you look at it and deal with it as a sort of almost like a business approach. It sounds you do a similar thing. Do you think that is the right way of dealing with it?
I think you have to actually be cautious because you don't know that person until you have met them and started to build up trust, as I've said. So I find it difficult when people send me a wink, because what is just a wink? You know, you're not what am I supposed to reply to for a wink other than thanks for the wink? There's nothing that you can actually say. You know, they're not approaching you, they're not saying hi or telling you anything or contacting you with a message. It's just a wink, and I just think that that's just a lazy way of actually trying to contact somebody. If I'm serious about trying to contact somebody, then I would contact them and use a reference that is in their profile to show that I've read their profile.
Yeah.
I think that that's a reasonable way of broaching somebody for a first contact.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Uh,
also from the point of view is like, please keep your clothes on.
yeah. 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 That's got you giggling. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm just thinking of a courgette at the moment, but anyway. Right. Brilliant, Liz. So, just going back to the vegetarian side of stuff, you know, can I just ask you, sort of, when it comes to your meals, you know, if I had to sort of say to you, what would be your top vegetarian meal? You know, if somebody's coming around and you've got together on a date and you're both vegetarians, and you know, what would you cook?
I think vegetable lasagna is always a safe standby because most people like pasta dishes or any sort of like roasted vegetables with pasta that you can mix up. Yeah, that kind of thing. But there's also all kinds of things. You can actually use chickpeas and make your own hummus. I mean, I don't know whether I've actually said that right. My daughter always corrects me, but that's a nice starter to have, and then have a fruit salad or something like that with a vegetarian ice cream that you can have as a dessert. So there are different ways of actually doing it, but there's so many different vegetarian cookbooks now. You can actually you can have, if you wanted a burger and chips, you can quite easily have a lovely vegetarian meat-based burger. You don't need to actually have meat. And the same with sausages. So there are loads of different ways of actually having a formal, for instance, almost like a meat-based meal, but it is actually plant and grain-based, which is much healthier.
Just a couple more questions, Liz. I know the vegetarians do come under fire a little bit because I don't know whether you can comment on this, but a lot of vegetarian and even vegan food, like vegan vegetarian sausages, they are still in the shape of sausages, and so people are sort of saying, well, you know, why do the companies do that? Why do people eat them? Or a burger is still looking like a burger. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, why shouldn't they? If you've been used to eating a burger in a bun, why should you decide that you can't have a burger in a bun just because it's plant-based? Why can't you have a plant-based sausage if that's what you're enjoying? It's like, have you ever had a non-alcoholic beer? Oh no, you can't have a beer that looks like a beer, but because there's no alcohol in it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I thought I'd throw that question in there for you anyway, because I know some people do say that, you know, why do they make it look like meat when it's actually not meat?
I think the most distressing question that I've actually come across is that while you eat plants, they feel pain. Well, sorry, but plants don't feel pain. They are reactive. They react to sunlight, they react to water, they react to the fertilizer in the soil, but they don't feel pain because they don't have a central nervous system. So please don't tell me that my carrot is screaming when I cut it up, because it isn't.
Okay. All right. Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Liz. And you've been listening to The Dating Show, brought to you by one-to-one vegetariandating.com. Thank you, Liz.
The Dating Show